That's beautiful. You know, the last time Arthur was here, I was not able to see him, but he left a gift for me, which I've proudly displayed in my office, and it's a small carved statue that has significance. And I've had several visitors in my office who understand the importance and that they have brought to you, and that they'll be a symbol to us of the kind of service that you have provided to your people. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Art Magugu from Kenya, and in 1963 I graduated from the University of Verne in government and political science. And thereafter I went to Europe to do graduate work, and which I did for another 3 years, and in 1966 I went back to Kenya.
Cement base underneath it, and then this quarter surface. We just had it refinished this past year, but it lasted real well. It's a very good surface. You can see we've won a few national championships in women's volleyball. They come around and have get together during the day, and then when they come out here in the evening, they sit together at the special tables. I have a reception downstairs, and you can move them gather and talk, and then gather up there and talk. People come in and sit down. We're supposed to be back here right around 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. I've got to be here in 5 or 3 minutes. So there's a special event tonight. We're going right now.
Look at all this shade!
Colette was in education, that's right. Maybe that was Dr. Foster, who was the science. I think you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think she was.
With Dr. Eikenberry and Foster. That's it. That was the lead.
And Near.
Yeah, Bob Neer.
Bob Neer.
When you and I were freshmen, that was Bob's first year. He came in
Teaching
58.
over there somewhere.
Yeah.
The other rooms.
Yeah.
Was here. 21? 27.
Yeah, 27th of April. I could write that, except I've been here every day. It's pretty bad when you're here every day from about 1958 to now. It's a long time.
Arthur Magugu
Returning to Laverne College, and at least in your recollection, now the University of Laverne, what are your impressions of your alma mater?
Well, I'm very well impressed with a lot of development, a lot of changes, and a lot of improvements. One thing one notices is that the university is on its way up, and I do wish that I had more time to look around and see what has been developed and what has not been developed.
What are your favorite recollections of Laverne and the small community that Laverne is? Really family, isn't it?
Very, very. Well, my personal recollections, I would say first of all, it's that of a family institution, and it has already. I mean, I've always seen it that way. Besides other little things we used to do as young students, I think Laverne's memories have always been the same with me. I don't think, as I'm sitting here, I still remember those days with my friends, young students, professors, and others, and I cannot express what it feels to be back here.
You mentioned Herb Hogan, you mentioned Dr. Cleo Berry, you mentioned Dr. Fosnot. That made an impression upon you as a young college student coming from your homeland?
Very, very much so. Dr. Hogan is my history professor, and Dr. Fosnot as university president, and the professor of education, Dr. Berry. Just to mention a few, I can name a long, long list. They have been an inspiration to me. Even now, they are inspiration to me.
The college has changed quite a bit. Now the University of Laverne, and yet what seems to be the same?
Spirit of that Christian spirit of a family institution, that seems to be the same. And that also closer, I have been made to understand, and I have no question not to believe, that the university still retains and maintains that Christian tradition.
The university is reaching out to the world now. It's no longer the small independent college for some 400, 500 students, but now some 15, or actually at one point 15, 16,000 students at various campuses around the country and abroad. What implications are there in the future for Laverne and Kenya?
Well, to say the least, I think we have got to accept the reality, and the reality is that there is bound to be closer contacts, that is physical contacts between Laverne and Kenya, either in terms of personalities and in terms of institutions themselves. I believe there have been an attempt, and not very, very extended so far, for some of our institutions, academic institutions like Kenyatta University, to try to establish some type of, some form of contacts between here and Nairobi University of Kenyatta University, which specifically deals with training of teachers. Now, that is the kind of contact which we hope should be realized, and we make efforts to get them realized.
What is the message that Laverne and the United States and the rest of the world needs to know about Kenya today?
Well, the message is simple and clear, that we as Kenyan leaders would want the rest of the world to know that we are part and parcel of the world community, and we do not chart any cause that is very divergent from other causes set by other communities, it's a question of really knowing one another. We want people of America and the rest of the world to know us as people of Kenya, and we know them as people of this or that country. I believe we are not complaining of any misunderstanding, and neither should these other communities complain of any misunderstanding. We are very open to the world because we cannot live in isolation, and we do accept the changes which are taking place in the world today. We are part and parcel of that system, and America, I think, is also the same. So the message is that countries of the world and people of the world should strive to know one another and to live in harmony with one another, in peace and prosperity.
The environment is of a concern worldwide now. Most of the countries recognize that we have to protect our environment. Many of us would want the Kenya of old to remain as it's been, with its vast reserves for the exotic animals that we all long to see, and yet we know that Kenya also must change. Commerce, other forms of foreign exchange, that Kenya can't stand still for the desires of others to preserve something from the past, and yet can't there be a balance in the preserve of our wild game and as well as new beginnings in commerce?
Well, these are two aspects of things. In Kenya, we have a definite course and we have definite policy on preservation of nature. And there is a specific government ministry which is known as Natural Resources and Environment, that specifically deals with environment protection and promotion of warfare of our nature. Now, that takes precedence over anything else. That means we do not compromise in terms of making money or trading in this or that, and in the process destroy or disrupt our nature or environment. And therefore, what we here want to say is we have been the foremost in protecting and really developing what laws are required to protect, one, our own wildlife, which is a source of our income in terms of foreign exchange earnings, and also to develop what you call quality tourism, and really making sure that poaching is not in existence in Kenya. It has been unfortunate because quite a number of animals have been killed by poachers. We have mounted a big worldwide campaign so that we get support of countries like America, Great Britain, France, Italy, all those countries, to impose a ban on trade on ivory and rhino horns, skins, and so on and so forth. And I think it's taking effect. The few countries or islands which are now dealing in contraband trade, I think are now getting the message. They're just about 3. I don't need to name them, but I think they get the message now. Concerted efforts by those countries which are concerned about protection of the environment have taken the necessary action, and we appreciate that as government of Kenya.
It is, I want to jump back to Verne, if I may, because you are in a position within your country to bring about change and to be an influence on what happens in the future. And we at Verne feel proud that you in part were influenced in your background from coming to Verne. What are some of the everyday enjoyments and pleasures that you remember, even though it's 30 years ago? What are some of those pleasures that you remember, or highlights of daily life at Laverne that you remember?
During those days? Well, I would go to movies in Hollywood, not far from here, with my fellow students, Skip Manero, Ben, Puccini, and others. We would go to movies and go to dances. Those are some of the very, very early memories. We would sit around and go camping. And we would also have evenings of fun, very, very much fun. Fun, identified with, normally with young people. And also memories of eating, having gone to church in the morning, Church of the Brethren here, come back. The most impressive thing was lunch. Always, Sunday lunch was always very, very satisfactory, and we enjoyed it. Then we would tease Mom, the lady who was in charge of our dormitories, tease her, and she loved us as her kids. So it was a good, good memory, not to mention the little things we used to do, naughty things, but those who are there, and you accept them as a youngster, and drive around, go for pizza or hamburger or something, visit friends, and I think it was good.
Now, had you spent other time in the United States, or were these things really foreign to you culturally? Pizza and Hollywood?
I would say they were not really. I don't know. I became assimilated fairly well. And there was nothing very foreign to me, because also my life in Kenya before I came to the States had not been all that undeveloped.
Kenya, Nairobi, the capital in itself, is a very modern city.
Yes.
And Mombasa as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, though, that in 1973, the road between Mombasa and Nairobi was still
it wasn't good.
It was not good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
Yes. Well,
but that was 73.
Even 83, and maybe even 93, it's a question of priorities. And I think here we have to look at the whole structure, economic structure of the country. The road repair and construction bill is a very, very high one in terms of a national budget. And sometimes you program for repair and construction of the road, and then in the middle of the things, you find something coming up, like something of a national importance, much more national importance than the road. And therefore, we have to change our priorities. Say, for instance, if we had a national calamity, like earthquakes, like drought, which would necessitate some of this money being diverted into food purchasing, then that is the priority which is going to be followed. And don't forget, if you compare our roads in Kenya with the roads in the States, then you can never say we have got any good roads anywhere. But we do learn to accept realities, and realities are such that those priorities of national importance, I'm not saying the roads are not important, but it's a question of where it bites most, and we address that. Yeah.
How on earth did a gentleman from Kenya wind up coming to a little small private college in Southern California?
In those years? Well, in those years, I think initially I didn't want to go for a big, big institution. That was set in my own mind. And then the only thing I did was to go to the American Information Services office in Nairobi pick up the directorate, and I went through it, came across 3 or 4 colleges besides other university big ones, and I said, okay, I'll apply to Laverne, I think Pomona, and 2 others. And then when I got the response from here, from Laverne, I decided the first response was very positive, and therefore I pursued that, and until maybe within 6 months or 4 months I had finalized everything, including a partial scholarship, which was not really anticipated, and I was granted one tuition scholarship. So I came to Laverne. I wish I could become young again, I would come back.
And your roommates?
Well, roommates during those days were, I had 2 or 3. One was Lloyd Thomas and Allen, I can't remember his other name, but I also lived in the 2 halls. I was in Miller and also Woody Halls. But I can't exactly remember who were my other 2 roommates. I can't exactly remember, but they were fun to be with. They were fun to be with.
Back to Kenya today and commerce and world trade and a position in alliances in trade and so forth and tourism. What is the invitation of Kenya to the world?
Well, we would like to invite the world, and shall I start off with this community here, to come over to Kenya as visitors first, and also as investors. We want to be friends and partners in development. We have a policy in the government where we are inviting investors from outside of Kenya, internationally, to come with their own capital, invest in Kenya in any type of industry. It could be in terms of manufacture, tourism, hotel industry, and export-import business. And given the kind of incentives we are giving as a government, I think those investors will be happy. We're giving them a lot of tax relief, we're giving them a lot of incentives, and if you are in manufacture, you do not pay duties, VAT, you don't pay taxes, government taxes on raw materials. You're given tax relief over a period of, I think, some 7 to 10 years, depending on your industry. And then you're also given other facilities like land. If you are doing a project which is foreign exchange earning oriented, that is what I think is the message we would like to send over. Right now here, I came to witness the centennial celebrations, and I wish all the best to the success of the Laverne community, the university itself, and the people around. I wish you all the best.